From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and All India Radio, this is Stumped.
Hello and welcome to Stumped, your intercontinental hit of news, features and debate from the quirky world of cricket. I'm Alison Mitchell in London. Nice to be back with you. I broke out of the cricket bio bubble and had a little bit of time for some walking along the Jurassic Coast last week, but lovely to be back with you. The sun is shining here in London, which is lovely after the way the last Test match was so interrupted. But it is, yes, I'm getting ready to make my re-entry into the bubble. A little bit like being an astronaut or something, it feels. But that's to come, ready for the white ball cricket. But for now, yes, nice to be home for a little bit.
Ali, nice to see you. You should be strumming the guitar. And as you don't have to go back, Hampton this week for the third Test. Hopefully they won't be playing backyard cricket out on the precincts. That seemed to be the highlight on Test Match Special. During the game, watching what Wasim Zaltzman and Mr. Mountford were doing with the bat rather than the game itself. So let's hope we can kick on. It's dry in Sydney at the moment, but we're in the state of lockdown in some parts of Australia. Hopefully the bear will come out of hibernation in time for a cricket season. We're waiting.
Well, so are we. Certainly India is scheduled to go to Australia. Hello, everybody. Alison, I wonder if Jofra Archer is saying we want a one-match ban for Alison because she's broken the bubble. But this is Charlie
I'm staying very well behaved.
All India Radio. Yeah, well, I know you will. For All India Radio in Bangalore still, where, of course, normal life can lull you into thinking that all is well, but it's not really because the number of COVID-positive cases is still spiraling. But, of course, that means that competitive sport is still not permitted throughout India. And, of course, the monsoon's on right now. Various parts are being flooded, as always. But through all of that, the IPL has force-fitted itself into the UAE next month. So we'll look forward to that.
Jim, I hope that was that a deliberate reference to Wasim Zaltzman, because it was Wasim Akram was bowling a ball to Adam Mountford. But Andy Zaltzman did bowl a mean delivery as well. So, yeah, if the TMS score is now to be known as Wasim Zaltzman, then I think he'll take that. It's great to be back with you both here. Charu, we're going to start with the story that has, dominated the cricketing agenda in India and beyond this week, and that's the retirement of a unique cricketing talent.
Dhoni charges and he swats in for six over mid-wicket.
And he's completely missed it, Bairstow, and he's stumped.
And Dhoni whips off the stumps.
The India great and World Cup winning captain MS Dhoni has announced his retirement today.
Dhoni's launched it over deep mid-wicket for six. That is enormous.
He smashed it high down the ground for six to complete one of the great run chases in one-day international cricket.
Slogged away by MS Dhoni for six. That is enormous.
You can only admire this extraordinary man.
A brilliant innings and a brilliant moment for those that have turned out to support India today.
His teammates have come rushing out and they're leaping all over him. What a way to finish it.
This is the most emotion I've ever seen from MS Dhoni as he walks off the field of play. Could this be his last one-day match?
Yes, the great MS Dhoni, Indian wicketkeeper, batsman and talismanic captain. And as we heard commentator Isha Guha saying there, she predicted it wasn't just Dhoni's last one-day international. It was his last ever game for India there. That was him exiting after India's rather sorry exit from the World Cup, losing to New Zealand in the semi-final at Old Trafford last year. Now, Dhoni announced his decision to retire in an Instagram post. No media conference or press release for him. It was only 2 lines long, but it did include a 4-minute video montage of his career. We saw Dhoni in white, Dhoni in blue, Dhoni with long hair. I feel rather privileged that I was there to see quite a lot of those moments, particularly in World Cups and against England in particular. And the photo that the video paused on the longest is him being lifted up on his teammates' shoulders in the wake of the World Cup win in 2011. Charu, it's been an extraordinary career, hasn't it?
Without question. At that stage, when he sort of started out, there were no shortage of keepers in India. Dinesh Karthik was just about bursting through. But even as the commentary stints, the little clip that you played were all about his big hitting. So what really did make a difference to him and his international career was the fact that he could hit it big almost at will. And what a shame, truly, that the semi-final turned out to be the last match in his international career, because he took it once again on his shoulders to try and finish that match for India. He couldn't and got run out. I was, even then, being at the ground or watching, expecting him to throw himself forward and kind of somehow make the crease, do that talismanic thing. It didn't turn out to be. But I think an indication of the kind of maverick personality that he is and always has been. No huge send-off, just a little video, a couple of lines saying thank you very much and I'm done. But yes, a glittering career. There's no question. You mentioned, and others did too, that maybe the world also considers him a fine cricketing brain and talent. I'm glad, because in India, of course, people can see absolutely no wrong in Mahendra Singh Dhoni.
Yeah, he's an absolute box office cricketer. Well, let's bring in someone who can tell us what it was like to work with Dhoni when he was emerging as one of the most exciting new talents in the game. It's the ex-India coach and former Australia captain, of course, Greg Chappell. Greg, welcome to Stumped.
Hi, Alison. Thank you very much.
Great to have you along. I mean, you became India coach in May of 2005, which was soon after Dhoni had broken into the India one-day side. Tell us about your first impressions of him as a person and a player.
Yeah, he stood out in the crowd. I mean, he had long hair at that stage, so he was, he had rock star looks and a little bit of appeal too. There was a confidence about him. He had a strut, but it wasn't an offensive strut. It was one that, here I am, I'm confident, I believe in myself, and I'm out here to have a go. And he certainly did. I don't think I'd ever seen a batsman like him before, in the sense that he just hit balls into parts of the ground that no one else did, or balls that, like a short ball that someone else would have played a pull shot to, he was playing a pull shot, but it was going back past the bowler.
We've got Jim Maxwell here, Greg.
Hi, Jimmy.
Greg, yes, well, I suppose it's never easy to be wicket-keeper and a captain, although it's becoming more fashionable. How do you think Dhoni managed to combine those roles so successfully for so long?
Look, I think, again, his unique personality, he was very competitive. He loved a contest and he loved a challenge, and I think that was what it was with him. He was extremely fit. He had the ability to compartmentalise his roles. When the ball was being bowled, he was the wicketkeeper. In between balls, he was the captain, and he was able to do that very well. As you say, it's a tough job. Not many people have done it. A lot of wicketkeepers have not been given the job because it was felt that it was just too much to ask. But Dhoni had the capability, and I think he loved the challenge. He was a natural leader, not only in the sense that he had charisma and personality, but he was quite happy to be the one to take on the challenge and see himself as the one that could succeed.
Greg, stay with us. We'll talk a little bit about Dhoni's impact away from the cricket field. Charu, can you expand a little bit more on Dhoni's unlikely route to cricket and the inspiration that he became for people outside of those traditional cricketing hubs in India?
Well, yes, Alison. I mean, it's a pretty storied rise from Ranchi, which is the capital city, actually, of one of the newest states in India, but it's well in the hinterland and not quite known for its cricketing prowess. So to rise from the little leagues there, very low level of competition, but of course he rose like a giant above the rest around him. And that led to the East Zone, which is the Kolkata zone, and where, of course, Ganguly was still ruling loose, but there weren't too many cricketers coming up into the national firmament from that zone either. So in a sense, the competition was not very high from the region that he came in, and for him to then somehow beat that system and come into national reckoning is extraordinary.
Greg, in the context of what Charu is saying there, when you think of India's population and its reach and Dhoni's reach, has there been a more culturally significant cricketer this century?
No, I don't think so, because of what Charu said. He has really given every young cricketer in India, wherever they come from, the hope. I mean, imagine, what are the odds of any cricketer playing for India with so many trying to do it? But for Dhoni to come from a region that wasn't a recognised cricket region, we had him speak, and Dhoni told his story, and it was an inspirational story in the sense that he talked about how at each level he had to prove himself again. But he said each time I was the new boy, and each time I had to prove myself over again. And I think that was where that strength came from, because each time he had to sort of gird his loins and do it all over again. But that was the inner confidence that just shone through in this guy. As I said earlier, it was just a rare thing in an Indian dressing room. He sort of transcended the hierarchy in the dressing room. There were very few players that moved easily between the sort of three levels of age group in an Indian dressing room. And the senior players seemed to accept him more readily than they accepted anyone else. And I just think that's the inspiration, and that's the legacy that he leaves for young Indian cricketers wherever they may be.
From the BBC World Service, this is Stumped on All India Radio.
Next on Stumped, to a new sponsorship deal in the Indian Premier League that's making headlines for social and cultural reasons rather than for its money-making potential. The Rajasthan Royals were winners of the first IPL in 2008 and have become the first major cricket team to be sponsored by a sanitary towel company. Now, their players include the likes of Steve Smith, Jofra Archer, Ben Stokes, and they'll all display the logo of Indian firm 9 on the back of the team's jersey. This is how the promotion was revealed on the Royals' Twitter feed.
What is independence? To be free? So why not actually be free?
Leaving behind these age-old fears.
And defend our own decisions.
It's time to step out. Speak up.
To knock over all stigmas.
To reach out. To not be ashamed. The silence has gone on for too long.
Let's talk periods.
Let's talk periods. You heard the voices of various Rajasthan Royals players in that promotional video. Let's find out more about what impact this relationship could have in terms of social change in India. I've been speaking to Pragya Vats, head of campaigns for Save the Children in India, and she's been telling me about the issues facing adolescent women in the country when they start their periods.
It's a big challenge, and above everything else, Alison, what really is a biggest one is the stigma and taboo around menstruation per se. And that is also representative and a reflection of a larger discrimination around the issues impacting women. But also, if we were to look at the numbers, you have 355 million menstruating women, of which 80% do not really have access. And how we sort of dub it is that the challenge surrounding menstruation and menstrual hygiene is sort of affected by the 3 A's, which is affordability, availability, and access. And we have seen that during pandemic, it's been one of the biggest challenges, because when we are looking at the response that any organization or government mounts to respond to the crisis of this scale, often this gets left behind. And most of all, a challenge that we feel is how do you really break the taboo around it? And it's a slow process of sort of getting people to talk about it, to first admit that it is a biological condition. It's not a taboo. It's like all women, all girls go through it. So why, in the sense that if you look at even boys also need to sort of own it up, because there has to be, it's not like it's a construct of the society that sort of makes it an issue that only women care about or they have to talk about, but it's as important for men, whether you're a father, a husband, or a brother. It's more about information, and it needs more about awareness, and everyone needs to take it up, especially boys and men, if we are to remove taboo around it.
So what was your first reaction when you saw what the Rajasthan Royals have done with their new sponsor?
Oh, I think the most powerful imagery was that all these men talking about saying, let's talk, period. And honestly, I was really thrilled at a personal level and as an organization where we are constantly trying to break the myth. And for me, that was a really powerful image. And I think for a lot of reasons, but if I could list down, men talking about menstruation and menstrual hygiene is a really big thing. And also these cricketers are, like how cricket is in India, it's like a religion. And all these cricketers are icons for large masses and public. There is a frenzy. I mean, if a cricketer does something, he can not just do, like he does a lot of things by doing just a simple act, influence minds. Other young boys and cricket enthusiasts would look up to them and say that, okay, they are talking about it, means it's an important agenda. So for me, it's important at a lot of level, like a powerful image of all men talking about period. So it's really amazing because Rajasthan Royals is truly special because they have been taking on the agenda of gender equality for years now. And we know that's their pet sort of theme that they work on for many years. So kudos to them.
So that is Pragya Vat, Head of Campaigns for Save the Children India. Just a final note, Char, a complete change of tack just to finish on, because the former India opening batsman Chetan Chauhan died this week after he contracted COVID-19. He was, 73, which feels young still, but just tell us a bit about his significance as a cricketer.
It's a shame that there was no real news about his being very unwell, so it was certainly a little sudden. But, you know, one of the sad parts of his cricketing career is that he never got to 100. And it just seems so strange because he played for quite a while and made a terrific opening partner with Sunil Gavaskar during a time when most of the West Indies, Australia, even England, had a fabulous fast bowling attack. So it wasn't easy for the Indian openers at all to be going overseas in those conditions. But he was very well known for laying his body on the line. I mean, he was a very tough, gutsy opener because that's what it took then. And Sunil, of course, was supremely gifted. So he negotiated his way to a fabulous career. But a lot of his partners, unfortunately, couldn't match the same skill. He took an enormous number of blows on his body. He ensured that India very often didn't sort of slide to a 15 for 3 situation. And later, after his career, he gained a fair amount of popularity just going out with Sunil Gavaskar time and again as an opener. Later, he got involved with the Delhi District and Cricket Association administration. And of course, finally, he went in for a political career with the ruling party at this point of time. So he's been a member of parliament as well. And I haven't heard of too many major success stories as a parliamentarian. But the fact that he got into the political world and stayed there for quite a while, once again, just showed his doughty nature. I mean, he wasn't one to give up easily. And India lost somebody who did a lot of very good service in the difficult job of an opener without much protective gear at that point of time. And well, may he rest in peace.
Indeed, thoughts with his family and all those who knew him well. Well, that's all we've got time for on this week's Stumped on All India Radio. You can keep in touch with the show throughout the week. You can tweet us at BBCWS Sport using the hashtag BBC Stumped. Thanks to Jim Maxwell and Charu Sharma, and to our guests Greg Chappell and Pragya Vat, and of course to you for listening. Stay safe and join us again next week. Bye-bye.
Stumped is a BBC sport production for the BBC World Service in association with the Australian Broadcasting Corporation and All India Radio.